So, what if you had to live the life of every single human being who has ever existed, back to back in exact order of birth? Really think about it for a second. Your very first life kicks off about 300,000 years ago in Africa. After living that whole life and dying, you travel back in time to be reincarnated as the second ever person, then the third, and so on. It's a massive thought experiment by Oxford philosopher William Macaskill, and it's wild. You'd spend about 10% of your immense life as a hunter-gatherer and a whopping 60% as a farmer. You'd spend a full 20% of your entire existence doing nothing but raising kids, and over 1% just suffering from diseases like malaria or smallpox. Now, to finally get to the present day, to be born as the absolute youngest person alive right now, your life would have lasted somewhere in the ballpark of 4 trillion years. That is the entire span of Homo sapiens up to today. But here's the truly staggering part. If humanity survives just as long as a typical mammal species, which is about 1 million years, and even if our global population actually shrinks to a tenth of its current size, 99.5% of your life is still ahead of you. On the scale of your 4 trillion year existence, you, in the present moment, you'd be just a few months old. The future is unimaginably huge. So welcome to this explainer. Today, we are taking an incredible macro perspective journey together. We're going to zoom all the way in, like right inside our own brains, to see exactly how artificial intelligence is rewriting human cognition. And then we're going to zoom all the way out, looking at the global economy, and ultimately the survival of the human species in deep time. Okay, let's look at our roadmap. First up, rewriting the human mind. Second, the great labor decoupling. Third, the infrastructure of intelligence. Fourth, the existential crossroads. And finally, steering our shared future. Let's jump right into Section 1, Rewriting the Human Mind, AI as our new cognitive partner. Let's start right at the micro level, the human brain. You know, we used to think of AI purely as this tool for mechanical, repetitive stuff, right? But recent academic research is highlighting a massive shift. AI is fundamentally moving into the realm of our perception, our memory, and our core reasoning. It's basically acting as a giant external memory system, a real cognitive extender. But cognitive science also warns us about something called bounded rationality. Basically, our brains naturally use heuristics, these little mental shortcuts, to save energy. So when we plug in an incredibly fast, data-heavy AI into a human brain that already loves taking shortcuts, we create this entirely new, kind of risky psychological dynamic. And that leads us to automation bias. Because these AI models converse with us so fluently now, we have this deep psychological tendency to anthropomorphize them, to treat them like hyper-competent humans. And because of that, we tend to overtrust their outputs. We literally start sidelining our own analytical reasoning. We just assume the machine is right, even when there is glaring contradictory evidence sitting right in front of us. Which brings up a really vital question for you watching right now. Are you outsourcing your memory? Because the academic literature points to some severe risks of cognitive complacency. I mean, think about it. If a doctor always relies on AI for diagnostics, or a pilot relies completely on autopilot, their own internal skills start to degrade. If we just habitually accept an algorithm's output without double-checking it, our own critical thinking literally atrophies. We become over-dependent, which, especially in high-stakes environments, is incredibly dangerous. All right, moving to Section 2, the great labor decoupling, the arithmetic of obsolescence. So what actually happens when you drop this new cognitive partner into the global economy? Well, we enter the era of recursive reasoning. We are moving way past basic software into AI's ability to think through a problem, check its own work, and just iterate without you having to click a single button. Because AI can now recursively reason, advanced cognition is basically becoming a commodity. Think about it. You can essentially download the equivalent of a junior lawyer or a software coder for what, $20 a month? As a result of this, the traditional knowledge class as we know it is fundamentally shrinking. And the crazy thing is, we've actually seen this movie before. Back during the Industrial Revolution, there was this 50-year window economists call Engel's pause. The economy was absolutely booming, but average wages stayed completely flat. Why? Because the new machinery was doing the heavy lifting, and the folks who owned that machinery captured all the gains. Well, we're now entering Engel's pause 2.0. We're staring down a future of jobless growth where the vast majority of economic gains flow straight to the owners of the algorithms. And you can literally see the cold, hard reality of this great decoupling in the data today. Corporate profits as a share of GDP have surged to near record highs of 11.55%. Meanwhile, labor's slice of the economic pie has plummeted to 53.8%. That is the lowest level we have seen since the 1940s. So the wealth is heavily concentrating at the top, and labor is just being squeezed right out of the equation.
The underlying reason for this shift is pretty stark. In the old world, the main bottleneck was brain power. Human cognition plus time equaled economic value. Simple enough. But in the new world, what we're calling the intelligence century, human brain power just isn't the bottleneck anymore. Now, the equation is compute plus energy equals economic value.
Which leads us perfectly to this absolutely wild, provocative quote. If you own a resume, you own a relic. Those highly specialized skill sets, the exact things we've been told to cultivate our entire lives, are actively being replaced by autonomous compute. So let's look at Section 3, the infrastructure of intelligence, powering the intelligence century. If human labor is decoupling from wealth creation, where is the capital actually flowing? The answer is into physics. We are officially shifting from the age of bits to the age of electrons. Because this intelligence explosion, it takes immense physical power. Financial models are currently estimating that AI will drive a staggering 160% surge in data center power demand by the end of this decade alone. To put that into perspective, just a single query on an advanced reasoning model, like OpenAI's L1, uses roughly 10 times more electricity than a standard Google search. 10 times. So, the real winners of this new economy are what analysts are calling the enablers of decoupling. We're talking about natural gas, advanced silicon, and massive sovereign infrastructure initiatives, things like Project Stargate. We are witnessing the rise of the technological republic, where governments are actively prioritizing critical technological dominance, basically trying to win the AI Cold War over protecting traditional human jobs. All right, let's zoom out even further. Section 4, the existential crossroads, scaling up to deep time. Now we're scaling all the way up to deep time, which brings us to the concept of long-termism. Long-termism is essentially the idea that positively influencing the long-term future is a key moral priority right now, today. Why? Well, because future people are utterly disenfranchised. They can't vote, they can't tweet, they can't form lobby groups. And yet, the actions we take today regarding AI, engineered pandemics, or fossil fuels completely dictate whether those people will ever even get to exist at all. We are the ancients. We live at the very beginning of history. Just think about this. Currently, the world economy doubles in size every 19 years. Before the Industrial Revolution, that same doubling took hundreds of years. This insanely rapid acceleration makes our current moment an incredibly precarious, highly unique chapter in the human story. We're literally holding the pen for billions of future lives. And the stakes really could not be higher. Oxford philosopher Toby Ord actually calculated the odds, and he estimates that humanity faces a 1 in 6 chance of an existential catastrophe in the next century. 1 in 6. That is the exact mathematical equivalent of playing Russian roulette with the entire human race. Between the threat of unaligned AI, engineered bioweapons, and nuclear war, our technological capability has vastly outpaced our wisdom. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, steering our shared future, the paths forward for humanity. The good news is we are not helpless here, but positive change requires active work. Step 1 starts right back at that micro level. We must actively cultivate our own cognitive resilience. We've got to maintain our critical thinking and push for genuine human-AI symbiosis, not just blind, lazy dependence. Step 2 requires our best technical minds to build transparent systems, making absolutely sure AI models remain fundamentally helpful, harmless, and honest. And step 3 requires serious global leadership to actively prevent new technological arms races and engineered pandemics. So I want to leave you with this final thought. Let's go all the way back to our first thought experiment. If you truly were the very first human, and you knew for a fact you would eventually be the very last, personally feeling the impact of every single decision made across time, how would you vote today to shape our deep future? The trajectory of the human mind, the global economy, and the survival of our species is entirely up to us. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.